This conference will now be recorded.
Well, welcome to the MS support group. My name is Kim. I live in Des Moines, Iowa. I have relapsing remitting, diagnosed in 2012, and I have my ochre fist infusion next Tuesday. So let me go around on my screen. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Ronnie, you are next, girl.
Hi, I'm Ronnie. I live in New York City. Diagnosed in 2013 with relapsing remitting, which has, in the last 6 months or so, taken a significant turn for the worse. And my doctor is calling it relapsing progressive MS. Never heard of it. I looked it up. It doesn't sound like what I have, but he's like top-notch doctor. So, okay, that's what I have.
Wow. You're the
Yeah.
first person I've ever heard of that had that diagnosis.
Yep. Well, I have to tell you that if there's ever going to be any weird thing medically or otherwise, I'm the one to get it. Yep, that's just how it happens. So, yeah, and I just recently got a leg brace, which is helping me not fall down in the street, and it seems to be working, so that's good. Um, and that's my story.
Excellent. Welcome back. Karen, go ahead.
Okay, I'm on the screen there. I'm Karen. I'm in Oakland, California, originally from New York, so don't mess with me. And Ronnie, I don't think you got a weird disease. I think what you got must be the latest in vogue diagnosis, because I was diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. So I thought 3 years ago, just literally 3 years ago at the end of January. So, but then I wanted to look at my medical records for something, and I found out that I am diagnosed with non-relapsing progressive multiple sclerosis. So we
Wow.
have twins. So we and when I was diagnosed, and I've had symptoms for 20 years. So when I was diagnosed 3 years ago, the neurologist said, and she's very good in terms of being a clinician. She's up there, and she said, well, you might have had relapsing, but you just didn't know it, which I don't think so. So I think they're constantly reinventing what to call it.
I agree. They keep changing things. Amanda, I think you're new. Welcome. Introduce yourself. Say where you're from, what kind of MS you have when you're diagnosed, and if you're on any medication, if you want to say what that is.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Amanda. I live right outside of Charlottesville, Virginia, and I have relapsing remitting MS, and I was diagnosed in June of 2019, and I am currently on Kesimpta. I just transitioned from Tysabri.
Okay. Welcome. We'll get back to you here. Jennifer, you're up next.
Hello, I'm Jennifer. I've been, I have relapse remitting R&R, and that's not rest and relax, whatever it is, but it's R&R. I was diagnosed in 2019. I'm on Aubagio, right? Aubagio. What are you taking? Oh, Aubagio. I need a purse. And I'm from Richmond, Indiana.
Excellent. Welcome. And then Louis, am I saying your name right, Louis? Or you pronounce it Louis?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Louis.
Louis?
Good.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself. Welcome to the group.
Thank you. Hannah Garrison told me about you guys.
Yes.
She said to say hi.
Yeah, she's one of our moderators. We miss her tonight.
Yeah, she said she was doing some painting thing.
I know, she has this conflict with painting with another thing.
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed in December. So I guess I mean, I'm still learning, but it sounds like our relapse remitting, you know. And I'm on Ocrevus. I had my second starting dose last Wednesday. So um, you know, that's bad.
Are
I'm
you in
do
Texas like
feeling
Hannah?
yeah. I'm in San Antonio
You're
also.
in San Antonio along with Hannah. Well, welcome. Glad to see you're here, that you made it.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
everyone just moved on my screen here. Frank, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Frank Austin. I'm in from the thriving metropolis of Plainville, Kansas. Population 1,500. I'm retired, you know, chilling out, taking it easy, forgetting to go to meetings and things like that. I was diagnosed with MS in 1997, though I've had symptoms since 1982, 1983. I've got secondary progressive, and I'm not on anything. I tried them all. None of them did any good. And now that I'm secondary progressive, they said, you might as well stop. So I did.
Okay. And then we have John.
Hi, that's me. I'm John. I'm from Big Rapids, Michigan, which, if you're wondering where Big Rapids is, it's by Grand Rapids. So it's just not as, well, it's big, it's just not grand. So I have my map. So right about here. I was diagnosed with RRMS in 2016, and I'm currently on Zeposia. I work for them. I'm an outreach ambassador. So that's kind of a fun way to get some of the money back from the drug company. Because this stuff is expensive, you know.
Yes, they're not cheap at all. And welcome. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ann. I live near Boston. I've got relapsing remitting MS diagnosed in 2016. I do Rituxan infusions every 6 months, and my husband is getting over COVID. So my lovely, wonderful doctor has authorized me to get Evusheld, which I'm very excited about because it should give me the immunity that normal people who aren't on an immune suppressant medication would get. So that's happening on Thursday.
I
What are
didn't
they
hear what
giving
you
you
said because
again?
there was a lot of noise. Yeah, we didn't hear it. The crucial
Oh,
word, what you're getting.
it's called Evusheld, EVUS as in Sam, HELD. And it's you get it at the same time, 2 injections that put the antibodies directly into your system, so you don't have to have a lot of B cells to replicate. And what that should do for people that are on Ocrevus or Rituxan like I am is give us the same immunity that you would get if you weren't on a B cell killing treatment. So I'll feel like a normal person, which would be kind of nice, at least in regard to COVID.
Welcome.
So does that mean you didn't get vaccines?
Oh no, I've had Moderna, I've had 3 full vaccines and a booster that I got 2 weeks ago. But because of the B cell depletion, the medical people think that those of us who are on the B cell depleting therapies are not getting anywhere near the immunity that the normal population who has all their B cells would get. So I've been advised to be extremely cautious, not go in any stores, wear a mask all the time, which I've been doing, pretty much isolating for almost 2 years now. And it will be nice to feel like I have some immunity to COVID that I probably didn't get from the vaccines and booster.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. I followed you 100%. Yes. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Holly, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Holly Brown, and I live in Brockton, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston. and I've had MS since 1999, and I'm on Rituxan as well. And Ann, can I ask you where you treated?
Mass General in Boston and a little bit in Waltham, but mostly in Boston. How about you, Holly?
I go to Brigham and Women's to the MS Center, but I was interested in what you said because I'm fully vaccinated and I've had COVID twice, and I've had COVID pneumonia, so I'm interested in the treatment that you said you were getting. So maybe I can ask my doctor.
Apparently it's on some kind of a lottery system, and it depends first of all on what tier you are. So if you were an organ transplant patient, you would be like the top tier, the person that would get it first, and then within that it's a lottery. And we're, I guess, tier 2 or 3. I might have been bumped up because I'm living with somebody with COVID. I'm not sure if that happened.
And can you just tell me the name of it again? Sorry.
Oh, it's called Evusheld. E as in Edward, V as in Victor, U, S as in Sam, H-E-L-D.
Okay.
Can you type that into the chat box, Ann?
If I can figure that out, I will. I can't even figure out how to see everybody.
If you are you on your phone or a computer?
I'm on an iPad.
Oh, Amanda put it in the chat box for us. Thanks, Amanda. We got a techie in the crowd tonight. And then last but not least, Mike, go ahead and introduce yourself tonight. And I don't know if you have sound or not. It has a little X next to you.
Hey, Mike, you're muted. There you go. Okay, Mike.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
I'm fine.
Didn't see you for a while.
You're lucky.
Yeah, good. Am I introducing myself, Kim?
Yes, you're the last one in the group, and then we can start free for all.
Well, today is my birthday, and I was late coming home from the bar, so excuse me.
Oh, we lost your sound, Mike.
Hey, Mike. There you go. You're back.
I've been on Copaxone, and now, like Frank, I'm secondary, and I stopped taking Copaxone. Life is good. I wanted to talk to Mary, Kim, when she comes in, and she comes tonight. She was going to speak with her neurologist about a new drug, I forget the name of it. Not a new drug, but one that might take the place of disease-modifying drugs for me.
Oh, cool.
It's made by Novartis. It's very expensive, so I want to hear good things about it.
I don't know what drug it is, so.
And they're all very expensive, so.
Yeah, they're all very expensive. That's always my fun question I love to ask people when we talk about MS. I always love to ask them, you know, how much do you think my infusion cost cash price if I didn't have insurance? That's always the good opening question. So do you know, Louis, since you just had your second dose of Ocrevus, how much the cash price is? Are you familiar?
Well, my doctor, he was like, "Well, your insurance don't want to cover it." I said, "Okay, I'll pay for it." And he said $65,000. So I was like, then I won't.
Right, but that's the half dose. So the full dose is twice that because you have 2 vials instead of 1. So it's closer to 124,000.
Times 2 again because it's
Times
twice a
2 because
year.
twice a year, so about $250,000 a year.
What kind of insurance won't cover it?
Well, they said everyone fights it. So Blue Cross, I didn't get it approved my first time. It took a long long time to get it approved.
Yeah, my insurance didn't pay for mine either.
Where did you have your infusion done? Because at least my insurance paid for it if it was done in an MS center or some sort of facility by a doctor. That made all the difference. If I wanted to do it at home, it was not covered. If I did it in the MS center, then the insurance covered it. Very strange. I don't know why, but that's what it was.
Yeah. Luckily they we got it through, but it was, the insurance kept saying that they lost documents or that things weren't sent, and just basically had to do everyone's job for them to to get it.
Well, welcome to the club.
I had
Club you don't want to be a part of.
No.
That when I got diagnosed in 3 years ago, at the end of 2018, I was told. I mean, I was in shock because I was told I didn't have MS after being tested for everything. Frank, you got an extra thing on here. Frank, you got an extra login here that's talking.
I just muted it because it was creating a lot of feedback.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, at the time, I mean, my head was exploding. I have MS after I'm told I don't have it, and I was tested for everything, and I'm told I have positive oligoclonal bands, like as if anybody knows what that means. And positive always sounds positive anyway, so he's like, what the hell? And then she's like, I hate to give you too much information, but there's 2 infusions. One is Rituxan, one is Ocrevus, and you can decide which one you want to take, and I'll have a pharmacist call you the next day. It's like the next day, like as if I slept that night. I might, what the hell? And I just couldn't believe it. And so Rituxan they had been using, and they're both made by Genentech, and they had been using that, I don't know for how many years ahead of time. And Rituxan's was 20,000, and because it was, and Ocrevus was going to be 65,000, but I belonged to Kaiser, and they were going to cover it 100%, not even whatever copay for infusion. Like if you're in an infusion center, so that's probably good for everybody to know, especially going forward if people come in, that if I go to the infusion center, then it's completely covered, not even a copay. Everything would be covered. But I mean, nobody asked me if I want to take it, and what the heck what the heck is this? And I had 2 friends who worked in biotech, so I asked them to read it because I couldn't even begin to think about, well, I couldn't even begin to think about what do you mean I have MS? What? Let alone whatever. So I knew that it was 65,000. And both my friends said, this is really new. I think you should go with Rituxan if you're going to go with either one of them. So, I mean, the pharmaceutical companies, I'm sorry, I just think they're so evil. They're so evil, and they're so, it's just a shame. And then I filed, I wanted a second opinion because I already was given an opinion that I didn't have it, and then I was given an opinion that I do have it. So then the first opinion wasn't really an opinion. Now I need an opinion. Do I have it before I even make a decision? So I wrote a big long letter, an appeal, because the other doctor was on maternity leave, and I wanted them to pay for an outside consult. I didn't get it, but I always have humor, and so I wrote this whole litany of this horror crap show that I'd been through. And at the very end, and probably if you're young, you won't get the joke, but in the end, I said, I need to have a second opinion. It's the $65,000 question.
So, Louis, since you are brand new to the NMS world and you just finished your second dose of Ocrevus, what kind of questions do you have? Is there anything that we can answer for you tonight?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know. It's
Okay.
just so, I guess I'm just relearning my limits and stuff because it set in pretty quick. So I just woke up with it. Basically, is what it felt like. I've seen the MRI, and it's not like it happened overnight. But I don't. I'm epileptic too, which that's controlled by medicine. But kind of some of the things. So I think that's how it flew under the radar because I thought I was having side effects from the medicine, like just tired. I mean that's pretty. A lot of people are tired. But yeah, I'm just, trying to figure things out.
Louis, first, dude, I just want to say sorry to hear about your diagnosis being so soon and so fresh. I remember those first couple of months where you're just like, so am I still allowed to drive? Can I,
Yeah.
And I was going to get my master's degree right when I was diagnosed. So what I learned is to take a lot of time to like process, and then also take a nap a day if you can fit in like half hour to 40 minutes of just, you don't have to fall asleep, but like just downtime where you can collect and get some of your energy back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm grateful. Like, I get to work from home, so I lay down once a day or in the middle of the day. I kind
And
of break my day.
always write lists in pencil,
Mm.
because those lists, you can't always live by them. Roll with it a bit. In fact, the first thing you should put on your list is make a to-do list. And then second, cross something off that to-do list. So you're already like 2 checks in on like a 5 or 8 thing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And also, if you are really tired, I remember, in the beginning when I first got diagnosed, try and get things done earlier in the day because you're likely going to run out of energy towards the end of the day. So if at all possible, if there's anything that requires any kind of effort, do that early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Go
Something that
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I was just gonna have, since Tiffany's late to the party, I was gonna have her introduce herself real quick. Hey, Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, sorry, I forgot to set a reminder on my phone, so I forgot about it. So I'm Tiffany. I have the relapsing remitting MS. I've been diagnosed since October of last year, so I'm still very new to this too. I know this is Louis. Hi. Yeah, so just figuring things out.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Okay, and then Amanda is brand new to the group. What brings you here tonight? Is there any burning questions or things you'd like to share or ask or talk about?
So first off, I want to say, like, Louis, good job for you for being here. I was diagnosed like 2 years ago, and I just like found a support group. So like that's awesome. I felt very alone when I was going through it, and I felt like everyone around me had no idea what was happening and they pitied me. And I was almost consoling others about something that was going on with me. And it was just like, I was like, oh no, you don't cry. Meanwhile, I'm like falling apart. I remember I got my Sabri box and it said, like, it had everything that said, like, there's a fighter in here. And I was like, I don't want to be a fighter. Like, what am I fighting? Like, all this stuff. I broke down when I got that box. So it is very overwhelming to wrap your head around, but hopefully being here realizes that you're like not alone. I think my reason for coming here was I just transitioned from Sabri to Kesimpta, which, Michael, I think that's the one you were talking about. It is a Novartis drug. And I have switched jobs, and so my insurance has been a mess. I'm trying to get my booster for my COVID vaccine. So because it's B cell depleting, that's been a mess. I've been, similar to what Anne was saying, have not left my apartment for the last 2 months. So just kind of trying to find other people that understand, because again, the people around me, they're just like, what can I do to help? And I'm like, you just don't understand. Like it's hard to get out of bed every day. So just kind of coming here to listen, to kind of speak with people who get it. I think that just already I feel a lot better.
We're glad you're here. Yeah, this is a great group to be able to sound off and vent. And I think sometimes, a lot of times when I meet someone that is not involved in a group and they're doing with MS on their own, they're like really shocked, like, oh my, you understand? Like, yeah, I deal with the same stuff. And they're just so like, oh, I didn't think anyone. And then just realize you're not alone, and because it can be a very isolating disease, because like a lot of times we complain about they don't understand because they can't really see it. It's like, yeah, unless you tell them, they don't understand. And yeah, so
Where do
we're
you
glad
live,
you're.
man?
What'd you say? Oh, you're having a problem with your sound again, Mike.
Where's your mic, Mike? There you go.
Where do you live?
I live in Virginia, right outside of Charlottesville.
Okay.
I think the other thing that's really important, I talked about this a little bit last time. I When I was first diagnosed, well, first I knew I had MS, and the neurologist kept saying I didn't have MS, and I kept saying yes I do, and he kept saying no you don't, and I had to make him give me a spinal tap, but and I then researched what's the best MS center in the country, and several came up, including one at Mass General, and one in New York, and that's where I've been going ever since, even before I moved back here. I think it's really important to get to a good practitioner, not just a neurologist, but an MS specialist, and if possible, an MS center. I'm very lucky that I live in New York. My MRI is done in the same facility as my physical therapy and my doctor's office, all that stuff in one place. So my strong recommendation is make sure your practitioner knows their stuff, not just a neurologist, but somebody who's really, an MS specialist.
And then we had Christy join. Christy, do you have sound tonight, girl?
Yeah, sorry. I'm driving home and I was like, I wanted to hop on real quick.
Oh, that's fine. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? We have a couple of new people here tonight.
Yeah. Christy. Oh, hold on. Okay, so my name is Christy. I was diagnosed with MS now almost 19 years ago. I currently am dealing with the aftermath of a huge flare up, and I currently cannot walk, and I'm on Ocrevus.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
So Tiffany, was there anything that you wanted to talk about tonight?
No, nothing in particular.
I have a really funny story.
Okay, what is it, Jen?
It's not really funny at all. So, like right before the holidays, I started having kidney stones, and I had one surgery to remove one right before Christmas, and my one to do the other side was supposed to be Thursday. And I didn't get any phone calls, emails, messages from the doctor, the hospital where it's taking place. So I called and I said, hey, are you guys cutting me this week or what's up? Don't leave me hanging. And the lady called back and she said, the former employee who was scheduling things did not write things in the schedule. And then she said, well, I can't really talk about why she was let go. Like, oh, I think you kind of just did, but I won't say anything. But holy cow. So we're all scheduled and everything, but I'm glad that lady got fired. She was just a witch on the phone. Oh my God, she rescheduled like 4 or 5 times. Oh, good luck in her future endeavor. As the is it the east or the west? Which position's open? I think both wicked witches are ready to be replaced. So it's not a great story, but it is stuff that we deal with a lot of times with having to reschedule and dealing with people that should be on our side that like definitely feel like they're against our side, you know.
Did it finally work out for you, John?
Yes, I'm all scheduled for just in 2 weeks. So they bumped me up the list to make sure they could get me in there because that son of a gun is 11 millimeters wide. Don't pick up a ruler to look to see how wide that is. But still, I'm excited for the surgery. It's going to feel so much better. The doctor's really great. He was really, really good last time. So it's nice when you have good staff, right?
Good luck to
And when
you.
you don't have them, you look for them. You know, you have to, like,
Yep.
I'd say, I told my primary care provider, I said, you know, it's not this disease that keeps me up at night, even though mine is progressing very rapidly and I'm constantly losing function and it's terrible. I said, but that's not what keeps me up at night. It's the dysfunction of the system. And yeah, and I go to Kaiser and they have a lot of people hate usually, like, you love it or you hate it, or you just have to find the right providers. And my doctor, well, the first neurologist, like Ronnie said, he was right. Even he tested me for, I had positive oligoclonal. I was so overwhelmed because so many other things that happened. They decided I had thyroid cancer, but I didn't, and half my thyroid came out anyway. And then the person I was going to see, the MS specialist, she's on maternity leave. Well, now what do I do? Like, it was just so much chaos and so many phone calls and so many mistakes made. And she had been connected with UCSF, but wanted to work at Kaiser. So I know she's still in touch with her colleagues there. And then I wanted to get a second opinion at Stanford or UCSF. And the other MS doctor was coming back from maternity leave. And in the meantime, I had gone to a conference that was sponsored, and I forgot. I think it was sponsored by the MS Society, but the Stanford doctor came. So I feel like I got my consult anyway, because he's like, why don't you try Ocrevus? So I got to find out what they were going to say. And the best thing about the MS specialist that I have is her nurse. And I was a nurse. And I can tell you, in healthcare, you don't get a lot of nurses. And the quality of those kind of mistakes, there aren't nurses anymore. They have medical assistants. And even if they're good medical assistants, they're not nurses. They don't know how to think. They don't know how to explain things. So, in addition to that person, John, that you talked about, yeah, like I had a schedule with I had a appointment was supposed to happen this week with my primary, and then somebody called me on MLK Day, and they work at Kaiser, and said, "I'm calling to tell you that your appointment was canceled." You're like, why? Did she quit? What what happened? And I said, no, it's a very special appointment, and just the anxiety of not being given just the information, what it is. And then I had to call, and then I had to leave a message. And
They ask
people don't
us
know what
why we
they're
have to
talking about.
cancel,
What?
right? They ask us why we have to cancel. We should be allowed to ask them too.
Yeah, but this was
We,
somebody like
we should
working
get
in San
paid
Jose.
too.
Yeah,
Did
but
I
she's
tell
like
you
working in
guys
San
my
Jose, not in that department. It's like I'm constantly having to like process, like, what does this mean? Well, why don't you just call on Wednesday morning or whatever? And it's like, no, I usually call the advice nurse at midnight because they actually answer the phone and you don't have to hear due to the high volume of call and because if you're here for COVID. So I just call and I leave a message, and I always make them, read the message back to me. And I said, well, that's not exactly that. Can you put it this way? Can you put it that way? And so the next day I did get a call from my primary care medical assistant, and she's not a bad one considering she was a better one than some, but it was canceled because of Omicron. It's like, well, why couldn't someone just say that instead of, wondering what happens, because it's my primary and she does osteopathic manipulation on me, but it's that kind of stuff that just drives me crazy. Or somebody calls and said someone's coming to your house, a physical therapist is coming to your house. No, he's not coming to your house, and it's somebody else. And all that stuff makes me like nutty. So my MS specialist, they didn't want to give me a second opinion. The only other person was this person on maternity leave, and they were saying, well, you can go to Sacramento, you can go here. And she said, I don't think you'd be happy with those people, because apparently there's a lot of neurologists who, dabble in MS. I don't want somebody to dabble. And in my case, I just waited for her to come back. It just seemed, because I didn't want to drive all the way to Stanford, and I just didn't want to go through all that. But there's a nurse connected to her program, and that has been, I would be out of my mind, because I can call her with any frustration and anything, and but for those of you who are diagnosed newly, because at this point 3 years is still sort of new, but it was so overwhelming. And she kept saying to me, Karen, it's the first few months, the first year, it's so difficult. It gets better. And even though I'm declining, it's kind of hard to believe, like, really, it gets better? Like, how could it get better when your body's declining? But that part does. You just do sort of adjust. And it took me until last year, February, I think, end of February, to find this group. So this is a great place for support. So yeah, I was like 2.5 years, not really I tried a couple of support groups. Then I found that people with relapsing remitting, no offense, all of you, but they didn't get what primary progressive meant. And so it's like, well, gosh, you're already in the 15%, and then you still can't get validation. But here I feel like we've already discussed so many times, what we have a lot of things in common. It doesn't matter. We get it. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Kim,
Karen, I
I'm
think
so
that's a fair
surprised
point.
that
I think, sorry,
this
go
many.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm so shocked that, like, for us, like, oldies that have been diagnosed so long, like, I'm so shocked that people still, after all these years, are having such a hard time, like, being diagnosed. You would think that a medicine evolved. Like, what happened in the MS area?
You would think a neurologist who sent me to get a spinal tap, and it says primary progressive. And it says positive oligoclonal bands, because when I finally got diagnosed, she said, well, based on this, and that, but here it is, these oligoclonal bands. And then I went to go back to that neurologist who I trusted to say, well, how did you miss that? How did you miss that? There it was. And he was so, I couldn't believe it. He took a crap on me, and I'm learning that the doctors that take a crap on me and blame me for everything, it's usually because they're guilty, and I don't go see him anymore. Because he's like, well, I was looking for relapse and remission, and I didn't even have the wherewithal afterwards to say, but I'm in my 60s. And I fit the demographics of primary progressive. I've had symptoms since I'm 50. I don't, how could you be looking for a disease for 20-year-olds at my age? I didn't even think to do that. And he was so, I'm not sorry. I found out a few months ago he dropped dead in the office, and I'm like, oh, well, just, I wish I cared, but I don't, I couldn't believe it. All he had to say was, I'm sorry. And with all these mishaps that I have with so many different systems and people that call, and then they made a mistake, anybody decent just says, I'm sorry, that was a mistake. Oh, okay. Instead of, well, why didn't you? And it's your fault. And maybe if
One thing I found out recently, in terms of doctors getting it or not getting it, we talk about all these different kinds of MS, this weird name that I now have. And what my doctor told me is that there is this thing now that they call clinically isolated syndrome, which is kind of like a pre-MS, and it's clinically you might see something on brain MRIs, but there are no real symptoms that the person is having. So even though they don't have symptoms, their myelin is still being eaten away without knowing it. And it could take years before any symptoms appear. And that's when you get the diagnosis for MS. Now, if I had known that, I had an MRI done in 2004 that showed, it said possible demyelinating disease. In 2004, I had no idea what that meant, but obviously I do now. So it was as early as 2004. I didn't get diagnosed till 2013. So to say sometimes that doctors don't get it is, I mean, yeah, I know doctors don't get it, but at least for me, nobody diagnosed me because I had what is now being called clinically isolated syndrome, a pre-MS. It wasn't until my vision suddenly went double and I couldn't walk that somebody said, this is getting a little bit more something else. So I think it's a question of incompetent doctors or symptoms that aren't there, but clinically you have some issues. I think it's a whole bunch of things that leads to either an incorrect diagnosis or a late diagnosis or a wrong diagnosis. And we're at the mercy of all of this. MS patients get screwed over medically. I mean, medication wise, what medication costs more than $65,000? That's what happens to MS patients. We are the downtrodden. So sorry for the outburst, but yeah.
I was diagnosed with clinically isolating syndrome back in 2002 when I had my first symptoms. The reason why they diagnosed me that is because I only had one episode from multiple sclerosis. You're supposed to have multiple episodes over a period of time. So, and I only had one lesion in my brain. They said if I had 3 or more at the time, they would have diagnosed me, but I only had one. So that's what they told me. And they told me, and I think it was somewhere between 10 to 15% chance I develop into MS within 10 years. I almost got to the 10-year mark, and then boom, I got MS. But that's what they told me. And then when this is at the Mayo Clinic, and then when what else was I gonna say? Crap, you were talking. Oh, the diagnosis. Shoot, MS moment here, guys. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Welcome to my world. So clearly, I see. Oh, I know it's gay. When it comes to diagnosing MS specifically, it's all about ruling out everything else first. So it's not a really easy. It's not like the flu where you take a nasal swab, boom, you got it. It's really complicated. So even though my legal bands and my spinal tap in 2002 were abnormal, they did not diagnose me. But also the medical community has changed a lot in 2002 to now. It's been 20 years. I mean, back only like 10 years ago, we only had like 4 drugs, and now we have like close to 20 drugs. So a lot of things have been changing. Things are opening up. We have specialty doctors. I mean, things have changed. I think things have gotten better. I mean, the prices are expensive, yes, but I think there's also a lot of help and aid and things to I mean, I'm really lucky where I live. We have a group here for MS community where they pay for my medical massage once a month and also my gym membership. I actually am going back to the gym to use the pool to go snorkeling because darn it, I need to be in the pool and exercise and get my cardio. And you know what? No one is there really, so I feel comfortable being there because that was really scary for me to go into a gym with a bunch of people without masks on, but I am not near any of these people, so I am feeling okay right now. And especially since I have a newborn nephew who's a little over a month old, I am super, super extra careful because I am not getting that boy sick. So.
Just remember, don't wear your mask in the pool because you'll end up waterboarding yourself.
And a face mask in the pool with my fins. I snorkel in the pool. That's my gig. And I have my little ice shuffle that got waterproofed. Yeah. And so I'm listening to my tunes, and I am the weird person in the water with my snorkel and my fins. It's okay. So, but
how was your trip? Did you go on your trip yet?
Yeah. Yes, I came back. That was last month. Okay, for all you guys who don't know, my friend made me go to Roatan, Honduras for a week. It was amazing. That's why I had to go back in the pool, because I was out snorkeling on the coral reef. And I'm like, I need to do this at home. You know, obviously.
Made her go.
Made me go.
Made
Yes.
her go.
Yes, she was amazing. She removed all the barriers. I'm like, I have to go. And it was an amazing trip. Yeah. It was 5 girls. 3 of them I didn't know, but we all bonded immediately. It was amazing, especially when you've been feeling so isolated. And I think the thing that was great about for me for the trip is I'm so used to being like MS in the foreground, and to have it pushed to the background was amazing. Because a couple of my biggest fears on the trip was I'm in a warm climate with lots of humidity, the heat. I have heat sensitivity, especially now I'm perimenopausal. I have heat sensitivity. My husband has this thing called heat drunk, where I go outside and suddenly I'm walking wonky, I'm slurring my words, I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying, and I'm having a hard time talking. So he calls it heat drunk, just for the heat. And so I was concerned about that. I was concerned about what kind of activities that they were going to be doing, because if they're going to be out late night clubbing, I don't want to be around people. And second of all, I'm not going to be good at night. So I brought my cooling vest. Highly, if you guys need a cooling vest, let me know. I'll put it in the chat. It's like weighs under 2 pounds. It's just on your back. And wearing that on the days I wasn't in the water, or when I was in the water, worked great for me. And they were really, I don't know, and they were very chillax trip. Like, we stayed at an Airbnb. We weren't with all the tourists, so it was fantastic. But it was just so nice to not be like, when you have MS, you tend to like to you learn to limit yourself all the time, and then not limiting myself. Like, oh yeah, I can go do that excursion. That's fine. I can do that. And that was just so refreshing. And but that was one of my big concerns with her. I'm like, I don't want to be a burden to the group, you know? I don't know if I can do X, Y, and Z. And she was like, oh no, the bedrooms are air conditioned. If you need to lay down, that's fine. And I did really, really well. So yeah, it was really great to experience that and have fun and feel more, I don't want to say that my old self, but just more like myself, and not just having this shield of MS around me. Like, it was just really refreshing. And so I'm like, yeah, being in the water, I'm a water baby to begin with, so it's like, I need to be back in the water. I haven't been in a pool since before COVID, so get my butt back in the water. And I've snorkeled the last 2 days, and it has been really good for me overall. Like, obviously I'm working on cardio and stuff, but just my mental health and just everything. You throw me in the water, I am like happy girl. Some people are like that.
Kim, I think you touched on like a lot of like good things like just there. I think for the newer people, and just to kind of tell a little bit something about myself, that it is hard to navigate the medical system. I am a pharmacist, and it is hard to navigate the medical system. I worked at the hospital where I got my infusions, and it was hard to navigate the system. I was working in the pharmacy that provided the medicine that I took, and it was hard to navigate the system. So if anybody needs help on that front, I think a lot of people are kind of settled in. But with new treatments, new things like that, financial assistance programs through the manufacturer are extremely helpful. That covered my administration fees for my Tysabri. So I didn't have to pay out of pocket, but getting them to bill it correctly was very hard. I was in a year-long battle with the infusion center saying, I am not paying this. I got sent to collections because they would not bill it correctly. So you just have to be your biggest advocate, and it is very overwhelming. It causes me a lot of anxiety and stress, and then stress causes me to flare up. So it's just this perpetual cycle of like just kind of not being able to kind of make it. And so it's just good to hear that. And I think the other thing you said too that I'm just recently learning is that we do tend to limit ourselves. The thing I'm realizing is that there are things that we just do differently, and just being vocal about that is really helpful. I recently, last week, there was a conference in California for like my job, and I like felt terrible that I wasn't going to be able to go. I didn't have my booster. 2,000 people were supposed to be at this conference, and I was trying to figure out a way to go. And my doctor was like, girl, sit down. Like, you are not going to this thing. Like, you are like immunocompromised. Like, you're just not going. And so for me, it's like I felt really bad because I felt like my MS was the reason I couldn't go. And what I realized was, yes, I can't do it the way other people can, but what we did was we did a virtual version of it. Like, we had a Zoom link, we were able to pick a modification. And so just like with anybody with like a disability, like there are modifications that like your work needs to supply you with, and just in life there's other things to do. So what can you do to be more equitable instead of just being equal to everyone else? So that has really helped me to kind of think outside the box to really like figure out like how can I do it. And maybe it is, I told my boss when I started my new job, I'm gonna need to take a nap in the middle of the day. Like, that's just how it just, it sounds crazy saying that, like, hey, sometimes I'm just gonna sleep through lunch, but that it's the truth, and that's just how we get through the day.
You know, I work in addiction, so I love doing outreach. So during the summer is no good for me. Like, especially being a redhead anyways, but I do not like, I cannot do summer because I do act like I'm drunk. I do like get all mixed up, start feeling shaky, and I felt defeated last summer. Last summer we finally got kind of things going on, but I stayed probably 30, maybe 45 minutes, and I was so upset that I just felt defeated. So I'm going to try those cooling things for this because I need to get out there, and I'm not going to have this MS hold me the freak back. I'm not, because I need to get out there.
Look to see if you have an MS center. So I know like UVA has an MS center and they provide free cooling vests. So
We
if
don't
there's
have
one,
anything here in Richmond, Indiana.
I think I
My
just read
neurologist.
Thermapparel. I will send the link here. If you hear the stupid thing loading, the stupid music, I apologize. But I just heard the MS Foundation is actually doing applications for them. Okay, I'm sorry. This music needs to die.
And maybe
I
I
hate
could
it.
be like, look, this is what I do, okay?
And while we're talking about,
I need to go out there and save lives, okay? I need to talk.
But did I tell you, Jen, with the summer, when I was walking, I only could walk my dog without a cooling vest, like 8 to 9 houses on flat. And that's all I could do. And then when I started wearing the cooling vest, I could like do like a block or 2 blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I sent you the link, and I just got a notice from them that there's like applications to the MS Foundation to get their cooling vests. But I think they have a limited and apply, so double check that out.
And while we're on the subject of summer and heat, one thing that's really helpful a couple of years ago, I couldn't walk from one end of the parking lot to the other when it was really hot. And the nurse at my doctor's office said, why don't you get a handicap placard? Just for those times when it's really cold, really hot, your symptoms are acting up, you're having a relapse. I have found that to be so helpful. And, you know, I don't use it all the time, but when I need it, it's there. And also sometimes I have to admit, I use it just to not pay for parking. If you're at a meter and you stick that thing up, even a normal meter, they cannot, you don't have to put money in and they can't charge you.
I have one too.
It is one real advantage of MS.
Because because I do have the cognitive, Miss Karen, I understand. But like I will look for my car for 2 hours. You know how exhausting that is? So I told my doctor, which I have a great practitioner, my neurologist actually needs to do something. I don't know. But like I had to like grab it out of him. Like, okay, what MS do I have? Like, I don't even know. So I don't know. I feel gypped. I need more support in that. But I don't want to go anywhere because I don't want my medicine to be taken away and I have to redo it again, and it's just so much.
Do you have to be like labeled as disabled to get a placard? How does that work?
All you have to do is go to your doctor with and have like the paper, and they'll fill it out, and you just bring it to the BMB. That's it.
Okay. Okay. I always wondered. I mean, because I'm doing better, but when this was starting, it was, you know, it was hard.
Louis, you deserve it, honey. Okay. It's
And then
gonna
you're
make
gonna
your
have to
life
deal
a
with
bit
the fact,
simpler. Then do it.
and then you're gonna have to deal with the fact that, oh, why is that young man with a placard? You know, there's
Yeah.
I get
that.
shitty looks. I do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel
and
like
then
I have
there's
Yeah.
or something.
when I got mine when I got that second opinion. I think I had that form filled out. But when I got mine, I had a placard. Then I had to get another car because I knew I was going to need a left foot accelerator. I didn't want to put it in an old car. I got plates, just disabled plates because, when you have MS, you have to remember to put the tag up, and then you have to, and then, I was driving with it on, and then you can't see, and then you kind of have to remember that, oh, you got to take it down. So for me, but I remember when I asked about it, first I think I had the temporary. When I asked about it, I said, it's not like I'm going to go into the grocery store because I liked walking. I just can't walk anymore. But I said, it's not like I'm going to go to the grocery store and take the disabled spot. Now I wait for it. I just sit and wait because I have to use a walker and I can't go very far. So, but it's definitely useful to have. And, even if you just get the temporary and you see. But Amanda, I wanted to tell you because I had the same thing. I got sent to collections. I got that stupid brace. Ronnie, you said yours works.
Yeah.
Mine was a stupid brace, and they didn't modify it. And they said, well, we don't want to modify it because if you don't like it, you could return it. So I came back and I said, like, this doesn't fit in my shoes. I mean, it's just like, how am I supposed to put, my shoes were not designed to have yet another thing in it. Well, you might have to get two different sizes of the same shoe, and you might have to this. And after you've already spent all this money on co-pays for all the diagnoses that you didn't get, and you don't get any money back if somebody misdiagnosed you, I just was, so I went to this other practitioner and then he wound up modifying it and it still didn't work, but I couldn't even return it. So they kept billing me. It was like $141, something $61, I don't know. And I just said, oh, screw this. I'm not paying it. I'm just tired of this. I'm just tired of paying for, people's mistakes. So, and I've always had like a 800, I didn't even know what my credit score was, but my bank keeps saying, oh, you have an 830 credit score. You have an 840, it's 820. It's like, whatever. And then I got a thing saying, you have 700 and something. So I didn't even know what these credit bureaus are. The people who work there don't even know what it is. So they said, well, you should probably get your credit score. And then for $161, I have 30 years of, never late, never did anything. And I don't even know what 730 really means if I should care. But so I finally called yesterday after months, and I talked to somebody in Costa Rica, and she's like, well, you could get a membership. And it's like, what do you mean a member? I don't even know what you're talking about. We're a credit agency. Who are you? What do you do? Well, you can dispute this and all that. And I'm just saying, like, screw it. Fine. You could, they sent it to a collection company 2 years later. I mean, this is almost 3 years ago that this happened. And this collection company never even asked me for money. So it seems like, you're a boy, don't we get gypped and get crap done? It's like they probably just send it to collections thinking I'll call up and say, all right, I'll give you the money. I don't know. And I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to let it be there. But it made me feel good, Amanda, to hear it. I mean, I'm sorry, but it made me feel like, okay, it's not just me, and that should happen. That you should have to go that far and to have to fight so hard. And I had a social worker. She left the department, so she was with me for like 2.5 years with this, and she said it's just very unusual. The medicals, they're not used to people speaking up, and fighting back and
let's
asking for
Christy,
things.
are you ready to tell your story, girl? I want to hear Christy's story. Well, actually, I kind of know it, but no one else knows it, so I want her to share her story.
Well, okay, just real quick, welcome new people. It's good to see new people in here. I apologize. I was out buying laptops so that I don't have to come downstairs to do certain things like, oh, I don't know, my MS support group. So I was like, oh yeah, my meeting's tonight. So I'm in the car and I'm like, I wonder if I can connect from my phone. Well, I could, but it's crappy service in some areas. Well, anyways, I digress. So since, gosh, I think beginning of December, we were starting the process to look into stair lifts because I now have been told that I cannot walk because I cannot straighten my leg and I have partial paralysis in my right leg. So, yay, at a young age, being wheelchair bound. So basically what I was doing is I was having to scoot on my butt, go down the stairs. Then when I wanted to come back upstairs, painfully on a broken leg at the time as well, I had to crawl back up the stairs. So it was just horrible. So we started a GoFundMe so that, because I don't know if you guys know this, a stair lift is like purchasing a vehicle. So my total cost after everything was just over $17,000. So in order to get this stair lift started, we had to come up with a down payment or of 75% of that, which was $13,161. So through all this, I was dealing directly with a navigator at the MS Society. And if you guys haven't contacted them, I strongly urge you to do that because the cooling vests, they will pay for them. If you need anything like a walker or anything like that, home modifications, they will help you get funding for it or fund it up to $3,000. So I encourage you to go to them. Also go to the MS Foundation because I have gotten a grant from them too. So there's a bunch of places that I was directed to help me get funding for this vehicle that is not luxury, it's a necessity. So with that said, we got the deposit through raising money through friends and family and social media and stuff like that. And also some of our own funds. And it came time where the final payment would be due at the time of installation. And I'm sitting here and I turned to my husband and I said, I don't know how we're going to come up with this extra $4,300. We've already asked people and gotten close to 9,000, 8 or 9,000. I was like, I don't know how to ask everybody else for an additional 4,300. Well, after speaking with my navigator, she put it in, and they normally only fund up to 3,000 for home improvement or home modifications. This isn't an improvement, it's a modification. So she called me back last Friday and they approved the final balance. So it's paid for. And
Yay!
now it's just a waiting game, waiting for the fabrication to be done. And then the call of, hey, we need to schedule an installation. So yeah, that's my exciting news from the last week, and I'm pretty stoked.
So
and
it was the MS Society that paid for it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the MS Foundation also gave you a grant.
Yes. So, and also I just want to let you guys pre-warn you guys. Sorry, my brain is kind of all over the place, so forgive my jumping around. once you do go through them, if you need any help through them, be prepared to have your doctor send, like fax them or email them proof of diagnosis. So, and that's just one thing that they have to have in their records, that they're helping somebody who was actually diagnosed with MS. So I forget stuff all the time, so I wanted to throw that out before I forgot. So yeah, so now it's just, we got the stair lift. Now I'm just waiting for the wheelchair, a custom wheelchair, because this one that I bought is crap. And it wastes a lot of my energy because it's not fitted to me. So I'm just waiting for, and I have, today's the 8th, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So the 10th, I have an appointment with my physical therapist for a seat evaluation, which my insurance needs. There's so much red tape. It's ridiculous. Everything that you need has a stipulation behind it for insurance to cover. And I think it's just like, okay, I'm not doing this because I want a wheelchair. I'm doing this because I need one. So, and that's just something insurance companies don't understand. So it's just been a lot of red tape. And so it's slowly getting there. Oh, and my husband built a ramp in our garage so it can actually get out of our house. So that was super like relieving that I'm not stuck in my house. And I don't have to have my husband carry me out of the house if I want to go, if I want to go somewhere. So
Christy, I'm going to ask you, I'm sorry, you're going through a really, really tough time, and you're talking about your husband, and I'm so sorry I interrupted it. And maybe at some future point, because I'm not going to ask you, we can visit the partner or husband or wife or whatever, mother, father, son, that might live with us, and how they support us or don't support us. Maybe that's an issue that we could pick up at some time. And Christy, please forgive me for interrupting. I heard that, and I have a husband, and my heart just goes out to you because you need support from all of us, from him, from the foundation, from the society. I'm so glad you're getting it.
Yeah, definitely. I am truly blessed that I have a husband that will help me no matter what. You know, I know that some people out there don't have that support in from their partners. And it can be very, very like, it's already a tough time. And not getting that support from your partner could make it even worse. And, you know, like Amanda was saying earlier, stress is something that you really need to minimize, because when you're stressed, it causes flare-ups. It's horrible. So it's like having that relief is good to know. You know, he prepares all my meals for me because I can't cook. I can't get downstairs to cook. So a lot of times I just text him. I'm like, I'm hungry. Can I have this, this, and that? And the next thing I know, he brings it up, you know? So, but other than that, he's everything I need. He helps me get in the shower because unfortunately I can't get in our shower because the curb, they call it a curb, but the lip of the shower is only 4 inches, but I can't even get my foot and get myself stable to get in there, which brings me back to another grant I applied for with the Home Builders Foundation for a home modification. So I'm asking them to help with getting me a roll-in shower and a counter in my bathroom with a sink. So basically take the tub out, because I can't use the tub, and just replace it with the sink and counter that's low enough that I can do my normal daily activities to get ready for the day. And then also widen one of the doors. But that's, we could do that, but why not? If we can get help, why not ask for it? So yeah, it's been quite an eye opener, like how many organizations are out there that you can reach out to ask for help. And yeah, it's a pain, but it's so gratifying once you do get the help. So I just encourage everybody, like Amanda, there's so much help out there. You just have to seek it or ask for it. So
Christy's not going to let MS mess with her.
No, I've dealt with this now for 19 years, and I'm blessed that it only took 18 years for it to really affect me. I'm super happy and blessed and grateful that I didn't have issues until last year. So, and that was, I had flare-ups here and there, but they weren't anything that took me down. And it's just like, now I have like the mother of all flare-ups that has taken me down, but I'm not going to let it, and it's just, right now I am on short-term disability from work without any real, like, hey, you probably go back to work in a couple of months. With my spasms and everything, that is not something they're discussing. So I've also started my SSDI applications. So everything's a waiting game. And, if you don't have patience, then having this illness is not, if you can't wait, having MS is not for you. You're gonna literally cause yourself an early grave. So, and if you feel defeated or anything, you got to look past what you think you may know, because there's so much out there. So, okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. But yeah, I was just super excited to share with you guys.
What happened with the wheelchair? Because I remember you were going to get the fancy wheelchair, and then now maybe I missed it when you were talking about what's going on with that.
Well, okay, so right now it's kind of in a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a stalemate, I guess you could say. Because insurance won't approve until they get documentation from like a physical therapist or an occupational therapist. Like they're calling it a seat evaluation, just basically that I need this type of wheelchair. I'm like, okay. And I can understand that it is a very customized wheelchair that I'm getting. But I also have a family member who has a spare electric wheelchair. I'm like, who has a spare electric wheelchair out of nowhere that, he's gifting to me that I'm just going to have at the house? But, the one I'm getting through insurance is going to be I'm leaving the house and we need something that I can put in the car without my husband breaking his back or us having to buy a new car that will accommodate an electric wheelchair. So that's what's going on with the wheelchair right now.
It sounded too easy. You were like, hey, I already did my copays and they're just going to get anything from me. And I was like, really? But
well,
it sounds more.
And the great thing, okay, Ocrevus. I think, I can't remember who was talking about, I think it was, I don't remember. Anyway, talking about 65,000 for a medication. I'm like, here, Ocrevus is like 100 for one infusion, and I hit my out-of-pocket max January 6th. So everything from that point forward, insurance is paying 100%. I like all my other medications, I haven't paid anything for them. You know, like the wheelchair, that's going to be 100% covered because I've already hit my out-of-pocket max. So, you know, my infusions just come at the right time when I started, because I started in my first half of my dose was in June. I had my second half first week of July last year. So 6 months later, it would be January 1st, but that's a holiday. And then I couldn't schedule the appointment any sooner. So we had to do January 6th. So everything from after that day, after they submitted to insurance, was covered 100%. So my trip to Mayo, 100% covered. And I went January, what date? 10th. Sorry, I forgot. So we were out there the 10th through the 15th. And, you know, a lot of the stuff like their MRI is about $4,000 more expensive than if I were to get an MRI here. 100% covered. So it has its perks. It's been kind of nice, like paying for a high or having to pay for a high. And the thing is that I'm not paying that $4,000 because I'm getting copay assistance through Ocrevus. So once, you know, in the infusion center that I go through, they actually will send it directly, the cost directly to Ocrevus. And since I'm on copay assistance, they just pay the infusion center. So, but the insurance sees it as that was my out of pocket, therefore she paid it, therefore she hit out of pocket max. So it's like, huh, that's awesome. So yeah, that's where I'm at with everything in my world. So
has your pain gotten better since the doctor was tweaking things?
No.
Aw, sad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm still getting spasms, not as frequent. I can tell when it's time for me to take my medication, because then I get spasms and I can't move and I have to take my meds and wait probably about a half hour before it really kicks in. But yeah, I can sleep through the night. But you know, it's like I'm trading one thing for another, because unfortunately, because they put me on the max of probably gonna say it wrong, tizanidine. Is that how you say it, Kim? So they have me on a max dose, daily dose of tizanidine. That's 36 milligrams. And then I'm on 10 milligrams of baclofen. I actually have to get a hold of my neurologist at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Carter. So I have to hop into my portal so they can adjust my prescription, because like how much I'm supposed to be taking, so that my pharmacy can refill it. Otherwise, the insurance is just going to deny it, because he wants me to uptick the baclofen. So I have tizanidine, baclofen, and Lyrica to help with spasms and pain. So,
was there talk about getting a baclofen pump?
Yeah, and that would be great. I went to the Colorado University of Colorado. I forget the remaining title. They're like hospital center, whatever. And I met with a neurologist there, and I was talking to her about the baclofen pump, and she said, well, it would be great if because I guess the baclofen pump needs to be monitored by a doctor, and all this stuff. We don't have the resources here in Colorado to do the baclofen pump. So I was like, awesome.
That's pretty common in Iowa. I know several people with MS that have baclofen pumps, and they just go in like once a year to get stuff cleaned out and rechecked.
Right. And she said that they did have one physician here in Colorado that was like his stitch, but that's what he did. And he passed away, unfortunately. They don't have anybody else. So I'm like, great. I live in a state that has really high diagnoses of MS, and they don't have anybody to like monitor important devices like this, the baclofen pump, because whatever. So my husband's like, let's move to Arizona. I was like, no, I couldn't handle the heat out there.
Well, they just assume in Colorado everyone that has pain issues is on marijuana. Just assume that.
Well, the funny thing is that I've been talking with my friend. She's like my best friend. We've been best friends since, gosh, junior high, middle school, whatever you want to call it. I know it as junior high. Everybody knows it as middle school, but whatever. And she's like a huge pothead. So her and I have been talking. I'm like, I need your help, Jill. I really need your help. Can you point me in the direction of good edibles that'll help me with my pain? She's like, oh yeah. So she starts listing all the stuff. I was like, no, you need to come to me and we need to go to a dispensary. And she's like, okay, when do you want to go to the dispensary? Because I'm there all the time. I'm like, yeah, you also live like an hour away. So you need to come to me since I can't drive and I can't walk. So you need to come to me and we need to go to a dispensary by my house. And we need to, you and I need to have a conversation as to what I need to buy. So yeah, marijuana. I know nothing about it. She knows everything about it. So I'm glad
being a drug and alcohol counselor, I like Indiana. Yeah, you can't even smoke it. You can't even do nothing. So when I run the needle exchange, the harm reduction program, I say, why don't you guys all smoke the marijuana? They're like, no, because we have fentanyl. I mean, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. So they just crack up. I'm like, look, when it becomes legal in Indiana, I'll be smoking the marijuana.
Yeah, it's, and the thing is that, I am not, back when I was young, like when I was 16. So I can't even do the math off the top of my head. That was a long time ago. I was smoking a lot, and it's so funny. I call it pot. And Jill's like, it's not pot anymore. Pot is the dirt weed. And I'm like, whatever, it's pot. But yeah, the marijuana, you know, I smoked it way back when, and then I got some psychological crap in my head because I got some bad, I was a bonfire, and you know, people put shit in their pipes and you share. Well, I shared with somebody that snow capped it with cocaine. So that night I thought I was going to die because my heart was going to explode. And then I thought I was going to die because my heart was going to stop. It was a bad psychological mind fill in the blank, you know. And so ever since then, I haven't been able to smoke it because it's like it's stuck in my head psychologically that it's snow capped with cocaine and I'm going to die. And so I get sick every time I smoke it. And I tried to pick it up many years later. No, that was not a good idea. So I need to stick with edibles. So that's what I deduced everything to, is just stick with the edibles if you need something for pain.
Well, at least you have options for pain that you can start looking into and playing around with.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the baclofen part, but it's nice that your state that's legal.
Yeah. And like I tell everybody, is like, yeah. And the thing is that with it being legal, and we were the first state to make it legal outside of recreational, or not medicinal. We have, I think I've said this before, we have a dispensary on every corner, like we have Starbucks. So you have your options, you know. So the only benefit, like, of having a medical card is that you don't pay taxes on your pot, weed, marijuana, whatever. This is how like lame I am, you know. It's so that's, everyone's like, well, then just get a medical marijuana card. I'm like, why? It's legal, so you don't have to pay taxes. Why? Who cares? I have pothead friends that will just give it to me. So it's nice to be in a state that it's legal and you don't have fear of, you know, getting busted. So
let's answer some of these things in the chat here. I'm not scrolling up here. Tiffany, you had this great question. Did you want to talk about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just, I'm having a hard time at work because, like I've talked about this before, I'm still doing like 50 plus hours a week right now. And it's hard because, like, I'll say to my boss, oh, you know, I think I need to leave a little early today. And it's, well, I've been here since 5 a.m. You didn't come until 7. Like, how do people deal with that?
What is it? FMLA. They can't touch you.
Yeah, I don't.
Another thing that you can do that I did toward the tail end before I quit was my doctor wrote a note saying that I can work so many hours a day.
So I put it in the chat too.
Even though some places, when you do FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act, they don't like that. And that's what happened to my last job when I worked at, the last job I worked at, they pushed me out. I've never been written up ever doing the same job, but managing the whole outpatient addictions by myself. And they did everything to push me out. And it wasn't like I was abusing it. I didn't abuse it. I was there all the time. So it sucked. That's okay.
FMLA protects your position though. It does not help with payment. So it goes in conjunction with like your time off. So what I would do is like it's a disability, and so by ADA guidelines, like you should be given reasonable accommodations. And so if that is a schedule, like it depends on what your job is and what the demands are of it, but getting documentation from your doctor of what your limitations are, having a conversation like with your boss. A lot of it is education. A lot of times, because we look like everyone else, it sounds like we're just being lazy or they don't understand. So you have to spell it out and say, this is how it is. Or like I have days where I cannot think and I'm supposed to be leading team meetings. It's just like, I can't even think of the word pencil today. So maybe this is not the day. So just helping them like get in your shoes, but ultimately like working with HR because it ultimately is a reasonable accommodation. And that includes like scheduling as well. And it could be layered with FMLA.
I know working with employers and knowing that you're working in the medical field, Tiffany, like it is,
As an
I think
infection
sometimes
control.
being in the medical field, like we're treated worse and we
Yeah.
think that we can be robots. And I can't tell you how many times one of my employers, I had to constantly tell them, I am not a robot. I am not a robot. I am not a robot. I can't get off of work at 10 a.m. and then be back at 8 a.m. and then work like I can't do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, it was a safety issue because I could injure people. I could, so that was a huge issue. So if you're feeling that you cannot get the time off, I would definitely get your doctors involved and let people know, because I don't want you to be in a situation where something, God forbid, happens and you have that thing that your biggest fear come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, because I've already put myself in a flare once by doing too much.
And not only is you putting at risk to other people, but yourself.
But like by going in on a Sunday to be a CNA for 4 hours and do the lifting and stuff that I've been able to avoid for the most part. But it's like, what do I do when we have people to take care of? It's so hard.
It's so hard because you really care for your patients that you're taking care of at the assisted living, and you can't let the ball drop. But at the same time, as you know, Tiffany, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help others, and you have to give yourself time to recharge. And unfortunately, having MS, we take a little longer to charge, and sometimes our charger is really faulty and we wake up 20% charged, and we have to baby that charge all day to get through the day.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I'm just having some trouble with it because, like I said, it's like we're in the middle of an outbreak still. I'm like 6 weeks. I'm one of the infection control nurses, so I'm doing a lot of the swabbing. I'm working a lot of hours because of that. But like I said, it's like it's tough when you go to when you go to the boss, you go to HR, and you're like, okay, I think I'm working too many hours, and the response is, well, everybody's doing more hours than they should be.
So I think another thing that is helpful is, as a manager, is coming up with solutions yourself and kind of telling them of like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, this is what my job requires. This is what I want to help out. I know everybody else is putting in extra hours, but instead of doing 12 hours straight, this is what I can contribute. This shift that people don't really like, early morning, where I'm more productive, maybe those are the ones I take. So kind of showing that like you're a team player, but also like working around like what you can do.
Yeah.
And then also, we are in the middle of like a pandemic, so they can't really afford to lose you.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's been tough, and like you think that they'd be more sympathetic because it's a bunch of nurses, and I get the, oh well, you look fine, you're not limping. Why are you taking the elevator today? The stairs are healthier. Like I get that.
It's none of their business. I would just strongly encourage you to get everything documented.
Yeah, and they're always saying, I know someone who has MS, and this is what their situation is. It's like, I don't freaking care what you think you know. But And if you're younger and you're working, it's hard. You don't want to think you can't work. I didn't know I had MS. I had symptoms for 20 years, and I just kept getting jobs that were sort of more I could do until I knew I just couldn't do it anymore. And I would have had a bigger Social Security if I knew that I had been diagnosed. But I mean, even now, I tell people I walk with a walker. I tell people I can't walk, well, but I see you, erect. I see you, and it's like I can't walk. I mean, I can pick up my left leg and then I schlep my right leg, and so it, I can imagine, I mean, I tell people. I mean, I'm not shy about it, and still, it's always, oh well,
I mean, it was
I
tough
don't
even
see
through
what's
the,
going on with you.
because I mean, I've only been diagnosed, what, like not even 6 months yet. So it's been tough even through the diagnosis process. They're like, oh, it's all in your head. Like, don't talk yourself into having something you don't have. It's,
Well, Tiffany, it really is in our head. It's
Literally and figuratively.
I don't know. I just haven't found that balance yet.
This is why I love my new job. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And when I say I work at the Wayne County Health Department, so I get to work from home. So that's cool because I'm still outpatient, which that's what I like. And now it's focusing around infant mortality, which totally new for me. So I love it. I really do. And I feel accepted because my boss knows who I am, and of course he's one of my best friends. It helps. But every time I'm having like a moment, he's like, "No, we're not going to use that at all, Jen." And I was like, "Fine." Like he pushes me to like, "Come on, Jen, you could do it." So I love that. Love it.
Yeah, and I have to agree. The medical field is kind of in a rough spot right now with the pandemic, and I can agree that they can't afford to lose you, because unfortunately you have to take it as, I got to put me first. That's the hard part, is putting yourself first, because you got to take care of you first and foremost. And I want your cat, Tiffany. Oh my
She's a
God.
little feisty. She's a little feisty today.
That's like mine. That's like my little cat. Every time I see her, I was like, even in past sessions, I've wanted to pet her.
Yeah. She's very feisty today because my computer's on my lap and that's where she wants to be.
Yeah. Well, mine comes in here and lays on my printer. So anyway, that's so like not the point that I was trying to get to. Now I can't remember what I was trying to get to. Squirrel. But yeah, so it's just putting you first, and your health is first and foremost the most important thing. And that's the great thing about the securities of FMLA. Once you have that submitted, that protects you from, what's the word I'm looking for? Like retaliation. God, I couldn't even think of that word. So it protects you from that. Or if you have to take, 2 days off because you need to mentally decompress, they can't tell you no, even if you don't have the time to do it. So that's the one great thing about FMLA. So, I would just go to your doctor and have them fill out an FMLA form, and you can submit it to your HR. And then basically, with your boss who's complaining about you coming in late, I don't mean this in a crass way, you can tell them to suck it.
Thankfully, I do come in late every day, but I don't have like another nurse waiting for me to get there, so they don't get mad at me.
I think
But
you,
that's
Because I'm not a bedside nurse right now. I'm not a bedside nurse right now. I'm infection control and staff education.
mhm.
You would think would be a little easier, but no.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
imagine though, just trying to, just for your own self, like you just don't want to believe this is happening to you. You
Yeah.
just don't want to believe I can't function like I used to, or is this that's just psychologically so hard.
yeah, that can cause a lot of stress, like unknowingly to yourself, just going through new changes because you're like, well, shit, what do I do? I don't know how to handle this. That can stress you out. That can cause unnecessary like worry and am I going to get over this? And is this just something that's temporary or is this something that's permanent? And that weighs a lot on your mind. And trust me, I've had it on my mind for the past 8 months with everything that I've been going through. It was new to me after 18 years. All this stuff is new and it does stress you out. And it's like I've learned here, it's like you have to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys put it? You have to grieve what you've lost and learn the new you. And that's one thing with MS, with all the changes that you go through, that's a constant, I feel like. It's just like, and that's the best way to put it, is you have to grieve what you were and embrace the new you.
And I recommend a therapist to help you process through that grieving, because it helped me out a lot. It really did.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I just found a therapist. I just started working with her through telehealth like this week. So
awesome.
Yes.
I did. My therapist left me last year in November. She moved away. But Christy, when you were talking about maxing out your stuff, once I maxed out, I'm like, let's do weekly. Let's do it. And it was
Yeah.
like this huge, like it helped me out so much that when she finally left me, I was okay. I'm like, I can do it on my own now. But I really needed that. As I tell people, for years, I was very quiet about MS, especially when I was working. I mean, my coworkers and stuff knew it, but I couldn't say anything on social media and stuff. And I realized holding it all in was very toxic to me. And having a therapist that was third party, that wasn't connected to me, and just having to just vent all the time was huge for me. Tremendously helped me. And it wasn't like she was saying anything amazing to me. It was just having that third party that wasn't attached to me, that had no emotional attachment to me, that I could say whatever I wanted to, and it was just really freeing for me. So I highly recommend doing that.
Because Tiffany, it can be feeling defeating, like it's defeated. I felt defeated. I felt like I'm pissed, number one, and why me? I got the whole grief thing, and I know about grief. I teach grief, but I could not process it myself.
Right.
Why did this happen to me? What the fuck did I do? Like,
Well,
but
and I've had moments of, I hate my life.
yeah,
It's like, I cannot do, like, it got to a point even before this flare up where I couldn't do what I used to be able to do, and now I had the flare up and now I have the position that I'm in now. And it's like, I hate my life. What, like Jen says, it's like, what did I do to deserve this? I feel like I've been a good person my entire life. I didn't shit on anybody, and that's hard to process. It is. And now that, I have to depend on my husband, I have been, I'm gonna start looking for like telemed psychiatric care, because this has really been weighing heavy on me and I don't know how to properly process it. Besides, get mad at him for no reason, because that's what happens when, you know, when you don't know how to deal with it, and or I just uncontrollably cry, or every emotion just, it's like it just happens and you don't know how to process it properly. So he is telling me, he's like, no offense. I'm like, I hate when you start with no offense, because I'm going to take offense to it. Just spit it out, he's telling me, well, maybe you need to go back to therapy. And I'm like, no offense, you're my ride. So
That is the nice great thing about the pandemic, is a lot of things are available virtually that weren't available prior to. And seriously, girl, go every week. Go twice a week if you need to. Call your insurance and go, what do you pay? Because sometimes they have limitations like once a week. Like, don't do the same day, they said. You can see them as many times as you want, just not on the same day. I'm like, gotcha. So I called to make sure I wasn't going over anything, and take advantage of it, girl. Just don't feel guilty. And someone told me a long time ago, a couple years ago, that was really helpful for me, because I was all about doing and using my brain, and that was my job, and then everything was like taken away from me. Life isn't about doing, it's just being. Being is good enough. There's nothing wrong with being. And we're always harshest to ourselves. Like, if I see someone else that can't work, I'm not going, oh, they should be working. I'm very empathetic and compassionate. When it comes to ourselves, we're not so empathetic and compassionate to ourselves. We are superhero. I see Tiffany going, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. So, girl, seriously, we've been there, we've done that. You get the help you need and don't feel guilty about it. Take advantage of it. Do what you need to do, because in a couple of years from now, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I was there and look where I am now and I am doing fantastic. But man, that is grief, 2020, like asking my husband, like, can I still drive? Like, is this possible? And like, I thought that was a conversation 30 years down the road, not in my early 40s. And it's just, there's a lot of things with MS that we hit some milestones a little bit sooner. And, that change is scary, and it's hard, and it's okay grieving is normal. And I'm just so proud that you're open to talking about your difficulty and your struggle, because that's the first step to help you get through it,
getting the right tools.
Yes, exactly.
And it's hard. I have a therapist through Kaiser, and I knew her before because I knew there was something wrong with me, and I felt like I can't go to work anymore. And and then it's like, well, maybe you should take meds, so I should be able to go to work. Like, just because I didn't, for so many years, I had symptoms that nobody paid attention to. But she was on maternity leave. Yeah, she let me go for a while, and then I was fine. I didn't want to pay co-pays, and she was on maternity leave, but she's been back, with me, and I know that they keep cutting back. So I don't see her anymore in person. You don't have to have the ride. We do video, and then for some reason the video wasn't working this week, so she called, and I like the video, but it's kind of good for her because then she could not have to be seen. I think it's a little more freedom. But I said, well, are you going to drop me? Because, I have this progressive disease. Like, I don't need short-term therapy. This is like ongoing. I'm constantly in a state of grief. I'm losing things. And she said, nobody checks. They're not checking, how often I see, and I don't see her. She only has like every 2 or 3 weeks. But that's just so helpful to me. And I was afraid because that's another fear. You get attached to someone or you think you could get it and then they're going to get cut off because of insurance. And she's like, no, I'm not going to drop you. And before her, well, I had both, but I also reached out to a social worker before I got diagnosed 3 years ago because I couldn't function. And I work in healthcare. I was like, I need a case manager. I need some help. And then the pandemic hit. Well, she was like once a month checking in with me, and she was like the best. But then she transferred out. But I've had her for 2.5 years, so I felt like between the two, that was just the best. And then when the pandemic hit, she was working from home, and she had time. Sometimes we chat for a couple of hours because we just, she just helped me so much, so much. I would be completely out of my mind, if I hadn't had that support. We're overtime here.
Yeah.
I know that, but we were doing so great. It's just silly to stop when we're on a roll. I mean, I think we had some good times here, but just a quick reminder. I know I'm in Central Time Zone. You guys know I'm already like when 8:30 hits, I'm kind of already fried. I don't know how you East Coast people do it. I don't know how you do it. I just wanted to let you guys know, last week, was it already last week that we had the Dr. Rubin webinar where it was us and lupus and testicular cancer and prostate got together with Dr. Rubin.
How was it?
It was fun. She's a urologist, for people who hadn't heard about, she's a urologist / medical sex expert. So we were asking her, it was all about intimacy. So we were asking her intimate questions. So my first question, I asked her ahead of time before we started. She said, yeah, I have the answer to that. My first question was people who have carpal tunnel or like with people with MS who tend to have like a weak grip. How do you give especially hand jobs? And her simple answer was sex tech, but she has a way better answer. So I think it'll be posted later this week on our YouTube if you want to check it out. It's not just all MS. It's a lot of it's focused around men's health because I was the only panelist that was female on the thing. But for the newbies, she did do in November, we did an MS for urology webinar where I did the Q&A on that one. So if you're interested about urology and potential issues, she actually told me to go to a pelvic floor physical therapist, and I did, and I got 80% better. That's why I was able to do that crazy trip last month because I had no issues with my bathroom
I'm following her on Facebook, by the way.
Yeah, she's fun. So that's something that you guys can check out. And also, reminder, our next meeting is in 2 weeks on the 22nd of February.
Oh, that'll be my anniversary coming here. I'll bring cake or something.
Bring cake for everybody. I wanted to, my 10-year anniversary for MS is in October, and I'm like, if COVID is better, I'm throwing a 10-year anniversary party and everyone's coming over. Like, let's celebrate my 10-year anniversary of diagnosis. I think it'd be so much fun.
Well, this is my anniversary being with AnCan, so.
Oh, okay. I thought
that's why I was going to bring cake.
Too many anniversaries. Has it already been a year? That's crazy.
No, it's my 3-year. I already passed the 3-year anniversary of MS, but that's the diagnosis. So the hell. I mean, I've had it for 20 years. So
I get to have a 25-year anniversary in May.
When's your party? Wow. Send me the invite, Frank.
Okay, I'll do that.
My husband will drive me to Kansas. It's fine.
I would think I was like an hour and a half away from you, Frank, when I was coming back from Colorado, from southeast Colorado through Kansas. I think it was about an hour and a half away from you.
You're 25 miles away from me.
You were that close. You were that close. I would have stopped. But my husband, that was a long day of driving.
You went on Interstate 70, right?
All I know is I was doing back roads until we got to somewhere in Nebraska, and then we were on interstate. I was not on interstate.
Nebraska is 80. Nebraska.
Okay.
80.
You're a
Kansas
little
was 70. Yeah.
It was all, and I did all that driving because I love that driving because that's easier for me. And then once we got on the interstate, I want to say Hastings, Nebraska, but that's probably not right.
No, it probably is right.
Oh, wow, I remembered something. That's a miracle. Okay, that's when my husband took over and drove the rest.
Isn't that shocking when you remember something?
I am just always amazed. I'm like, hey, my brother and his wife's friend was overseeing baby. I'm like, do you do accounting? And she's like, yes. I'm like, oh, I remembered something. That's a miracle. Did anyone else have anything else
I
they
did
wanted to
something.
say before
I
we
was
wrapped up?
amazed. The other night, I was amazed. I problem solved. I like having Thunderbird for a mail program in addition to Gmail, and I haven't been able to open it because it said, you got to change the password. And the other night, I just went, I'm going to look it up on the internet. And then, you see something, but who has the cognitive to like, that's what I have to do. But I actually looked it up and I did it. And I had to change something really scary, but I said, well, it already doesn't work. So it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And I was like, oh, it worked. I could problem solve.
So, Louie, what did you think about the first meeting of AnCan that you attended? I can turn off the recording so it's not on there if you want me to.
Oh no, it's interesting as the most people I've seen, at one time, um, with MS. So
It's interesting because we all like have similar things that we deal with, but then we all have completely different things we deal with. Like
yeah,
Christy's
yeah,
talking about having to use a wheelchair, and I'm not like that unless it's, a bad day, or I have really bad cognitive issues, but then other people don't have that issue. So,
yeah. I'm learning, just learning everything. I kind of don't understand it because maybe I've like dealt with it longer and I just didn't know. I mean, um, I like to ride my bike, and during the summer I would go in the hottest part of the day because no one would be out. And I mean, I did it, so I'm like, I know that I've had this a long time, so I'm hoping that I'm not gonna be sensitive to the heat. Had my flare up in November, so I'm
Well,
just
just to
like,
ease your brain, my grandpa has MS, and he was a concrete worker. And as you know, he owned his own concrete company. And as you know, that's the time of year that they work. And he manages heat just fine. So it doesn't affect everybody. It is a very probable cause, or not, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. It highly likely for someone with MS to be heat tolerant or cold intolerant, so it depends on you as a person. So just know that it's not, you're hearing all this talk about heat intolerance, because I'm the same way. Just know that it doesn't affect everybody the same. So you might be able to handle being out in the sun like that on really hot days and not have
I'm
flares.
cold all the time. I don't have a problem with heat at all. I mean, in fact, I'm cold. So, but yeah.
yeah, Louie, when I first had MS, like the heat sensitivity was an issue, and then it kind of went away, but then it came back raging when I started perimenopause. Perimenopause, hot flashes, and all that stuff. It just just went off the rails for me. But for a while, I'll be like, oh yeah, it doesn't really bother me anymore. So it just depends, and if it doesn't bother you, lucky you.
Yeah.
Amazing you. But if it does bother you, then just realize it and then deal with it appropriately. I also wear like
yeah,
a cool neck gaiter I put on, that I wear too. So,
yeah.
along with the cooling vest.
I'm prepared for it to bother me, but I hope that it does.
Yeah, because you're in
Um,
Texas and we know it gets hot in Texas.
yeah, yeah,
Well, Kim, you're in for some fun. I always had friends who were a little older than me, so they were in their 50s and they were, going through all this stuff. And when I was like having menopause, I just felt like I'm going out of my mind. There's a ledge and I'm looking over the precipice and I'm one step away. And then, I took herbs and things like that. And then people said it gets better. And it's like, really? How could it get better? But it does. And the same with after being diagnosed, just the overwhelm of what? I'm diagnosed with this. What? How could it get but just getting used to it and accepting it and just going with each phase. And like Christy, like you said, I realize I've lost so much and I'm going to keep losing more, but I enjoy my days. I eat and I go, oh, this is so good. Oh my God. I just enjoy my days. I went to the pool today and I just have time. I'm not running around like everybody else and just,
I think of
this.
you, Karen, when I go to the pool. I'm like, Karen goes to the pool.
Well, I wasn't, but I went back and I went today and today was the first day since November that it wasn't a struggle because it was like 67, feels like
I use the
70.
program pool. I don't go into the normal pool. I go in the program pool, which I think is like 5 degrees warmer.
What's the program pool?
They have 2 pools. So I'm part of the YMCA, so there's multiple locations around me, but the big one downtown has this really big pool. I think part of it's like Olympic size. They'll have like really big competitions. They'll have like well-known people come in, and I'm not in that pool because that pool is cold. I go into the pool next door, which is smaller and like warmer. It's designed for, the people play in and do therapy and things like that.
Well, it's 80 degrees where I am. I mean, sometimes it's 79 and it feels cold, and sometimes it's 82. And the real swimmers complain. But this is just a municipal pool, and it's a mile from my house.
Sounds amazing.
So, and it's outside and there's trees.
If you're too cold, don't, think about not putting on a wetsuit or something like that to keep warmer.
Well, it's hard getting dressed and I found a dress.
I wear swim leggings. I wear a rash guard too.
I wear a nightgown that looks like a dress. I found this dress just to go to the pool in, and everybody keeps complimenting me on it because I could throw it over my head. So then I just went, well, I knew that this dress was going to work because I have a nightgown like that. So when I leave my house, I just go in the nightgown. So when I get there, John was saying, don't go in the pool with your mask. Well, I never swam in the winter, but a lifeguard I knew, he lent me a cap. I never used a cap, and I didn't used to have long hair, and I only swam when it was hot. So, between going there and there's the cap, I got to take my glasses off. I got to get my goggles out. I have to do, and then there's an elevator, and everything in Oakland is messed up. So there's an elevator for disabled that I go to, but the thing is marked up. If you want to go down, you have to turn the lever up. And if you want to go up, you turn the lever. So when I go there, I go, okay, up is down and down is up. So when I go, I think, okay, I know it's not what I think. So up is is down is up. No, up is up. No, down is down. It's like a mind fuck. No matter what, you can't ever get it right. And they have these lovely lifeguards, and they always come over and they help, and it just makes it faster. But today it was like, oh, great, the weather's warm, but I'm not going to just brag about it because we're probably going to have
fires. Are you able to walk into the pool, or do you have to use the little thing that you sit on and then go into the pool?
Well, I don't sit on it. There's an elevator that takes me down, but
they usually have a thing next to the pool that you can sit on, and then
I don't sit on. I just stand. There's a cage that. And where down is up and up is down, and it works faster.
So they actually literally put you into the pool.
So it puts me in the pool, but then sometimes it doesn't work. Like every time you go to the pool, there's something that doesn't work. Our scanner doesn't work today. This didn't work. And then they said, oh, we were worried about you because the elevator doesn't work. A piece broke off. And I said, well, I can do the steps. And then we couldn't use the showers at first with COVID, and you kind of make an appointment. You can only go every 2 or 3 weeks for 30 minutes, but now you can go whenever you want. And so I use the cage side because then it takes me right into the slow lane where where we don't fight, where the people in the fast and the medium fight. You know, you're not going fast, you're not going slow enough. And it's like, no, we get along. So it just takes me right down. But I can do the steps, but where I go, it's a faster walk to the showers, and every step, you know, my concern is it's about almost like a block. I don't know how many meters. I asked the lifeguard. It's like 500 meters or something. It's a long walk. And after having for a month not doing anything, walking with my walker, it's harder and harder. And now I have the left foot accelerated. It's like, okay, I can drive there, but am I going to be able to keep walking? So I am interested in your wheelchair story, Christy, and I took all those notes because
Yeah, is there like I'm assuming they don't have a wheelchair there, but is there one that you can borrow to get you from the front door
yeah,
to
but
the
how would I
meeting room?
get there with my paralyzed hand? And then I use the shower. I mean, one of the incentives too is I use the shower there, so I don't have to get my leg over the tub at my house. I could just, you know, go there and use the shower. And it's
Yeah.
also very social. You know, there's a social element, and the manager lets me stay a little later because, you know, if I just throw on the dress, but if I have to put on my clothes and my hand doesn't work and my leg doesn't work, and there's a program that happens afterwards. So today there was a woman who came, she's about my age, and I didn't even see her walk in. And we wound up chatting for like 30 minutes about pools. And she said, well, I'm actually the lifeguard for the next program, but because I got to go because I could swim now. You know, it's like my free time for swimming. So it's just like, oh, I interact with people. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? I've made friends there. So it's just been, I love going into the water because that's the only exercise I can do.
I feel really good going into the water. First of all, I'm a water baby, but like just to like my cardio has gotten really bad, and just to be able to push myself a little bit and then I can still swim, but then slow it down to, you know, get my heart rate down again and then, you know, bump it up a little bit. It's been so nice. And just to be
Well,
buoyant, just helping with
so
like
when you say cardio, you mean you're just like swimming more,
well,
so you
just
get
any type of swimming will just get my cardio up really fast, where I'm just like out of breath because my cardio doesn't really exist. So I'd like to bring that up again. So
Well, you know, I found too, I walk on water. Like I walk in the water because I'm not doing the bridge exercise anymore for my core. I mean, I'm not, it's just, you know, I have to remember and how to do everything. So I've been doing my primary is an osteopath, and so she's really into body. So that part's great because I go to her and she works on me, but she gets to check in with me. And I said, you know, I do whatever I feel like doing, but I often just walk, and it's a pretty long pool. So I walk a lot and I don't sink. And I realize, you know, I don't sink. I walk from the deep for, you know, a really long half the pool. And she said, oh, you know, I never thought about that it's keeping my core. Because when I do the bridge now, I can do it. And when I first got diagnosed with MS, I hated it. It was like, oh God, 3 push-ups from my hips, you know, and so I could still do it. But I think that's just something you might think about, Kim. I don't know. I mean, I
I
was just
love
shocked.
that. I swim like a scuba diver. I don't swim like a swimmer. I like to swim under the water, not on
Me
on top
too.
of the
I know.
water.
I hold my breath for a long time and I
I
swim and I
love
know.
and I have my music on and I have my fins on, and the other person next to me is like working really hard, and I like keep up with them or start to like, you know, get faster than because I have the fins on, not because I'm swimming any better, just because of my fins.
I
Well,
just feel so good to be in the water.
yes, me too. I'm glad for me, it's a good choice to be back in the pool because it's helping me on so many levels. So I think we're gonna have to close this down because I'm fried unless Frank's ready to go for round two. I am tired, guys. But it was so great to meet you, Louie. Glad everyone else could make it, and hope to see you all back in 2 weeks.
And sorry, Louie, you have to be in this club, but
It's a good
Well,
club. I have to admit, the
yeah.
people in this club are really awesome people. Yeah, I just have to say that. And I know I'm biased because I have MS, but we really have really cool people in MS
and
who have
cool
MS.
facilitator. She could say that too. She's biased.
I do okay sometimes.
Yeah, and you haven't even met Jen and Dan.
Oh yeah, Jen and Dan. Yes, they're a couple. Jen is getting over COVID right now, and so, but
Oh,
they're a couple that both have MS. Jen uses a wheelchair, and yeah, so there it's not just one, it's both. So they're very interesting. Dan, it is not, he still works full time. Jen does stuff on the side, but she doesn't officially have I don't believe she officially has a, they do podcasts and stuff, and she's very busy writing and stuff, and she's very active in the MS community, so she's very, very busy with that. So yeah, they're very interesting. They have a podcast, and I don't even know. Do you know what it's called? Is it called? I'm totally blank.
A couple takes on MS.
Thank you, Frank. I knew Frank had the brain still here tonight.
I knew it. I just
that
can't
takes
remember.
on MS. I knew it was couple something, and I'm like, I'm gonna screw it up. But hopefully they'll be back on the 22nd. Hopefully Jen will be feeling better, and yeah. So, but yeah, they're a really fun couple. They're well known in the community. If you type out, you will find them.
Nice, nice.
So
And the real plus of this group too is it's not funded by pharmaceutical companies because they just push their stuff. I can hear we could just say whatever.
You can tell Karen is very what's the word when it comes to medical community? Just fed up and frustrated with the medical community.
No, not with the medical community, with the pharmaceuticals, because
well, just in general, the frustration.
No, not with the medical, with the pharmaceutical, because people could have been on Rituxan before Ocrevus got FDA approved, just for that alone. Before the Ocrevus got FDA approved, and that there just seems to be a thing with MS that you're supposed to be happy, and you're supposed to talk about how you're coping, and you're not supposed to talk about what's hard, unless you could package it with saying, but I don't let it bother me. I have MS, but I don't let it bother me. And it's like, what?
And
what?
If I ever hear that, I say, I call bullshit on that. I'm sorry. Because I don't care who you are. It affects you somehow mentally. And whether you're willing to admit it or not, it will. It's going to mess with you mentally, and you're gonna go through so many emotions. You're gonna be like, screw this disease, it's just, if you can't admit that it's messing with you, you really need to go see somebody about it. And and that's the nicest way I can say it. So yeah, so you are taking a good step by at least dipping your toe in the water by coming here. Let me just say, I've been coming here since June of last year, and it's probably helped me in more ways than I thought I needed, or I didn't think I needed. And if you have questions about something, somebody here will have an answer for you, or multiple people will have an answer for you. So,
hopefully they agree.
Yeah.
Well, but if they don't agree, we haven't drawn any blood yet.
Not virtually.
But you get just different perspectives. You could say, well, I like that perspective. That one's not working for me. Or, I never thought about, I mean, Christy, you've really just not having to go to work and all your steps. It's definitely empowering me to go, okay, I'm gonna, I need to tackle this thing with my house, and it's just the right time for me to. I finally reached out to Center for Independent Living, and yeah, there's tools and there's things around.
That's another thing. I have to go and apply for a grant with them too, to help with modifications to my house. And one thing it's not necessarily just like modifications to my house. I think it's more like they help a lot with like the mental aspects of dealing with changes. So that was something that I found very helpful as well. So, Look at me. I'm like, I've got all this research in my brain. I can't spit it out because it's just there and it's like bottled, but I have it. So probably tomorrow I'll be like, oh, I should have brought this up. But yeah, that's one thing about MS. There's so much out there that offer tools to help you, progress with your disease. And that's a horrible way to put it, but that's the truth. I mean, and I didn't even know about all of this stuff until all of this started happening to me, and so just know there is help out there if you get out there, or if you get to the point where you need the help. So, and one thing I can say, MS Society, it's not just, I know I already said it, I'm not going to say it again. They're not just home modifications. There's lots of other things too. So yeah, there's just, I'm just so thankful to them right now. That's why I'm kind of stuck on it.
And Jen did say that there is, more doing that. And this disease is so expensive. Like I got this left foot accelerator, but it was only $315. At first I did ask about getting help with it, and I was like, it's only $315. That's not a lot of money. And a neighbor around the corner who I didn't even know put it in. There's all these little blessings that happen. He set it up for me. It's portable. He set it up for me, and then I said, oh, I don't know, do you do other things? He's like, what? And I said, well, my bell doesn't work. And he says, oh, I've got one. I could put the bell in. And my dog died last year, so not to have a bell, like, it's kind of inconvenient. He put in the bell. He did all these things for me. He cleaned up my garage. He hooked up his, and I said, well, I need a little shelf. He just did a bunch of little things for me. And then he came over and I said, I have these shoelaces because I can't tie my shoelaces easily anymore. And he did my things on my shoelaces. He was here for 4 days. He did things. And then I said, okay, I have to pay you. And I was bracing myself, it's fine, hooked up the dryer. He did a ton of things for me. This wouldn't have happened. And it just makes me feel so much safer and good. Like where I live, my neighborhood, because 2 neighbors told me about him. And I said, well, how much do you want? He's like, $75. I'm like, what? That's crazy. And then I gave him 100, and then he had something else to do. And he goes, well, that'll just cover that then. Don't worry about it. So it's hard to ask for help. It's hard to admit that you need help with things, especially when you do ask sometimes and you don't get it. And then you find these little blessings in disguise. Like, oh my God, I feel so cared for. So. And poor Kim.
The flip side to that, though, is that by asking for help, you're helping other people feel useful and helpful, because the hard thing is well, how do I help you? So when you have specific things, it makes them feel good about themselves. It's not just you sucking the energy away, that it goes both ways, where they get to feel good and because they're altruistic, for all the help that they've done. So don't feel bad about asking for help. That's the sum of what I was trying to say. Okay,
it's hard not to
go,
feel,
guys, because I am fading, and if we don't go, we're gonna get into some weird philosophical stuff. Where did that come, Kim? Are we in?
Okay, I'm leaving, so I can't go on. I'm gonna leave just to make it easier. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Karen. All right. Well, it's great meeting you, Louie. Hopefully, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Tell Hannah to come.
I know. She said
she's
she was
an
doing
excellent
some painting
moderator
thing or something. But yeah, she introduced me to all of this. So yeah, it's been a lot.
I'm gonna stop the recording.
Oh, I guess I can stop.